And before we begin, establish yourself well in pure consciousness. Breathe to your belly. Let go into your body. This is your foundation in the inner reality. Without the foundation, there's no point of trying to walk anywhere further. If you are building a house, you need to have foundation. You cannot start from building the walls because it makes no sense. All of this will collapse. Now, about the ego. I am sure that this topic, uh, speaking of ego as our true self, can be confusing. And ego is actually very intangible. So the subject is confusing because of different preconceptions about ego first, and second because nobody really knows what ego is. We only know different ego tendencies, how it manifests itself in all kinds of ways, usually, unfortunately, in negative ways, but we don't really know what ego is in itself. But let me ask you, who is listening? Obviously, the one who is listening, the one with whom I am trying to communicate, is your real self. And the one who is listening is ego. Because there is simply nobody else there. Most people experience ego as the mind because they do not recognize their sense of me, but it is not because ego is bad, but because it is unconscious. Here's the paradox: the ego can become conscious spiritually by entering the spiritual path, or even by helping realization of pure consciousness, but it still does not know who it is. And the reason for this is that ego is the closest part of us to who we are, and therefore the most elusive, because it is the one who is looking. So when you are trying to find it, you keep missing it because you are not in touch with the one who is looking. You are just in touch with what you are looking for, or conscious of it, but not who is looking. Ego is, simple definition of ego is that it is the thinker. In other words, it is our center of intelligence. And we are the center of intelligence. Because intelligence is everything. There's no consciousness without intelligence. When you experience, but not all intelligence is the thinker, you see. When you are experiencing pure consciousness, for instance, there's intelligence there. That's why you can feel it. You can feel it, and you can even feel how you are feeling. You can identify the level of your well-being, and based on which you can create an intention to realize pure consciously deeper, to surrender deeper, to embody pure consciousness stronger. So there's intelligence there. But that intelligence is actually transferred from ego through pure attention. It's transferred from ego, but ego is not transferred with intelligence to pure consciousness. Ego remains in his own place, someplace else. Initially, he is in the front. Now, you may be wondering, what is the difference between ego and the primary me, or ego and the person? Because both of these centers were referred to as being the thinker too. The thinker is actually primary me, And the person is a emanation of primary me into the mind. So it is basically the thinker, but in the mind, where we create different concepts, where we access different memories. The primary me can also think directly, because it is the main thinker. It is just not using the mind. So it cannot directly think about stuff, everyday things, or philosophical concepts. For this, it has to go into the mind. So what is the difference between primary me and ego? On the one hand, there's no difference. On the other hand, there is a difference. Primary me is intelligence identified with primary attention, and we experience it in our eyes. But ego is actually this intelligence itself, independent from primary attention. It is a very, very subtle thing to clarify. Because you see, the reason why people do not experience their sense of me, they do experience it, but unconsciously, not consciously. The reason why they don't experience it consciously is because they have no center. They cannot separate the thinker from thought, because the thinker has no substance. Because intelligence in itself actually has no center. But in its evolution, in order to become conscious, it has to create the center. And for this purpose, it is using the energy and the light of primary attention, which is the light of self within us. So that light of pure attention allows intelligence to identify its identity. Because you see, intelligence identifies with that attention, and that attention becomes its center. And here, intelligence can say, I am, it is me, I am thinking. And that's all how it should be. But if we go deeper, at a certain point in our evolution, intelligence can experience itself independently from primary attention. It evolves. As it evolves, first it needs to evolve through primary attention, but then as it evolves, it is able to recognize its own inherent sense of me. Basically, it begins to own its own attention, which is not a center, but it is something tangible. It's not like intelligence is all over the place. It feels itself as me. It's like a center without center. We could even say that the sense of me, of ego, is actually made from pure attention. So it takes a long time. Many things have to develop in our consciousness before ego can actually capture itself as me. So ego is initially recognized in primary me, but it is not primary me, it's something deeper. So you recognize it in your eyes. The expression of it you recognize in your mind, like in the person. But it does not stay there forever. Eventually it moves deeper. And I will speak about this actually in the next retreat, about original me and unified consciousness. But the most important, because now I am just, describing technicalities, the most important is that you need to awaken to who you are. Because who you are you really? You can say, oh, I am pure consciousness. I am that divine space of pure consciousness. Or I am my heart. But who is saying it? Who is saying I am pure consciousness? And that one who is saying this is the closest part of you to you. Ego is basically the soul. Individual I am. But first we recognize the soul in pure consciousness, in the heart, because ego simply cannot meet itself as the soul yet. But there is a point where it can. Ego is the soul. Ego is the individual or individualized, universal center of intelligence that enters each body in order to become a center of that particular consciousness and evolve in that particular consciousness. In the sense, ego is everywhere. All the living beings have it, plants have it, but it's too dispersed, too unconscious to awaken to itself. And the only time, the first time it can awaken to itself, in this reality as we know it, is in the human body, through you. So you can misunderstand easily ego, thinking, oh, that is my false self, that is just too personal, not really worthy attention. It's actually what creates a sense of separation, and it does, this is what it does, it creates a sense of separation. Because without separation, there's no individuality. And without individuality, there is no awakening of the soul. We have to go through separation. Separation is not a problem. It's not it's a stage in our evolution that we have to pass through. So, yes, ego is personal. Ego is you. But I would like you to feel it deeper and to acknowledge in this feeling something deeper. The, the need to appreciate the light of me is something that was always part of our teaching. It's not new. But you see, the thing about ego is, yes, it is me, but it is also the most personal part of me. It is just so personal that you are basically entering the main center of me, the original center of me. When you feel me in pure consciousness, well, even if you are, you know, seeking traditional enlightenment or whatnot, you can sort of agree, yeah, it is me, because it's its sense of me is felt universally. So, you know, for ordinary person, there's no difference, assuming the ordinary person can experience it, there's no difference between, you know, realization of this universal consciousness of the beyond and realization of pure consciousness as me, because they both feel impersonal. Pure consciousness can be interpreted by someone. It's you know, it's not fully true. There's some truth in this, but it's not fully true as God, because it doesn't feel so personal as me, as our ego sense of me. But when you acknowledge and embrace ego as something godly, something that has its origin, its source actually, in the universal intelligence, then you have resistance, because just too close to you. Think, no, it cannot be true. I do not deserve to feel myself as universal intelligence. I am nothing. My ego is just giving me troubles. So this, all that stuff can come up. And it's alright, because as it comes up, you need to confront all these thought patterns, unconscious in you, or your prejudices about yourself, all your inferiority complex about yourself, all your judgment about yourself. all your lack of appreciation of yourself and so forth, you need to acknowledge it and use it, this opportunity to transform. Ego is made from the same substance as the center of intelligence of the Creator, who is the thinker number one. He is actually thinking through you, through your ego. So by feeling your ego, first you need to feel it clearly, because it is elusive, even though it's not hiding, and it's the most obvious part of yourself, and everybody has it. Even a dog has ego. But it is elusive because in its evolution, all it cared for is assuring our survival, then fulfillment of our desires. Then even spiritually, it cared only about reaching all the states of enlightenment, but never really cared enough about itself, because it exists in the context of creation, it exists in the context of everything, basically, including the spiritual dimension, but it forgot itself. And it's time that it remembers itself. I am. I have always been here. Yes, I am the center of personality. I am the center of the mind. I am behind all those pitfalls of emotional self-image. I am behind my arrogance. I am behind my guilt. But I am none of these things. I have just fallen because I have forgotten myself, and it's time that I remember who I am, so that I do not need self-image in order to feel worthy. I do not need the approval of my own mind, neither I need approval of others to feel worthy, because I know who I am. This is what ego is saying. I have always been here. I'm no different than the divine itself. I am the one for whom this world was created. And all I need to do is to remember who I am.